Hello and very warm welcome. I'm Sohail Qureshi from our London studios. And today my program is basically to do an autopsy what happened between the Pak-India war in recent days and actually what brought it in. And I was thinking deeply and discussed with a number of military analysts, political and strategic defense analysts, and we are still bamboozled. What prompted the attack of India on Pakistan? While the dust of armed conflict between India and Pakistan conflict settle, questions are being raised. What actually triggered such a hostile, irresponsible, and rash armed attack by India on a sovereign nuclear country, Pakistan? It is still an enigma, and people are actually discussing this in every corner of the globe. In the wake of the recent tragic incident in Pahalgam, where unfortunately many innocent lives perished, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, and National Security Advisor Ajit Doval authorized a military strike across the international border into Pakistan territory, citing Pakistan's alleged involvement in the Pahalgam attack as a justification. This unprecedented escalation led to loss of life on Pakistani soil and triggered alarm across the global diplomatic and security community. The world was once again brought to the brink of a potential nuclear confrontation in South Asia, a region home to over 1.6 billion people. On Pakistani side, the uncalled for and tragic death of many civilians, especially children and women, was a huge cry for reprisal and revenge against India. To prove this point, we were doing evidence-based research, and what we have found is one of the weekly press conferences by the Ministry of External Affairs of India, where they clearly indicate that the investigation is still going on and they have not found any foreign entity. So with courtesy to Indian media, we are playing this short video for you.
And diplomats that were briefed today, and in the context of ambassadors also that were briefed earlier. And yeah, that's about it.
We have had several rounds of briefings, and in these briefings we have also shared with you the kind of linkage we see between the perpetrators of the attack of Pahalgam, in particular the Resistance Front. Foreign Secretary in a statement also made very clear the kind of evidence that we see, and investigation is going on in this particular matter. You would have seen that TRF had taken responsibility, and then second day, twice they had taken responsibility, and thereafter, possibly at the behest of their handlers, they rolled it back. But TRF is one organization which is a front of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, and you would understand and perhaps be in the knowledge of it that we have been pursuing listing of TRF in the United Nations, by the United Nations Security Council, by the Sanctions Committee, UNSC 1267 Sanctions Committee. I'm not privy to what was shared 2 hours back, but for sure we'll update you on as to how the investigation progresses in this matter.
As you watch this video, which evidences that Indian government were still actually investigating the Pahalgam incident without any conclusive evidence for involvement of a foreign entity such as Pakistan. However, still going ahead and mobilizing the armed forces and putting the two nuclear power at the brink of nuclear war or mutually assured destruction, MAD as it is the acronym, is simply appalling. What makes this escalation deeply troubling is not merely the act itself, but the falsity and ambiguity surrounding its justification. Just 3 days before the strike, the official spokesperson of India's Ministry of External Affairs publicly stated that the investigation into the Pahalgam incident was still underway, and no conclusive evidence had been found implicating any foreign entity. This admission renders the subsequent military action not only premature but fundamentally baseless in terms of international law. According to the international law, very much enshrined in the charters of the United Nations, strictly prohibits the use of force by one state against another, except in self-defense against an armed attack or with explicit Security Council authorization. It is very much enshrined in Charter 2/4 and 51. In this case, India acted without conclusive evidence, without exhausting diplomatic avenues, and in violation of Pakistan's territorial sovereignty and integrity. This constitutes not just an act of aggression, but a grave breach of international peace and security. The world has seen and is aghast knowing that such decisions are not bureaucratic oversight. They are the result of calculated political and military decisions made at the highest level of government. Prime Minister Modi, Home Minister Shah, and National Security Agency Duval must be held directly accountable for this uncalled for and a rash decision. The consequences of these actions will go beyond the immediate fatalities. This imperils the regional and global stability, elevates the risk of full-scale war between two nuclear-armed nations, and it definitely inflicted psychological terror on billions of people, not within the region but across the globe. What is more astonishing and tragic is that the president said by such unchecked aggression cannot be normalized. If international legal institutions are to retain their legitimacy and authority, they must treat and acts of state-led aggression with the seriousness it warrants. International Criminal Court, or ICC, although limited in jurisdiction and scope, also has a responsibility to investigate potential war crimes and hold violators of international humanitarian law accountable to people who are perpetration of violence, regardless of the size of the power of the state involved. The death of innocent civilians in Pakistan, the destabilization of regional peace, and the deliberate political gamble with nuclear escalation demand international scrutiny. The leaders responsible, Modi, Shah, and Duval, should be declared war criminals under the international law. We must stand up for accountability, that their actions must be investigated through independent and international tribunal, and if they found culpable, they should be prosecuted to the fullest extent under the Rome Statute and other applicable instruments of international law. This is not merely a regional grievance, it is a global concern. The world cannot afford to look away while nuclear brinkmanship is used as a tool of a domestic political theater. Accountability, justice, and adherence to international norms are the only paths to lasting peace in subcontinent. In a region rich with history, culture, and shared aspiration, the time has come for India and Pakistan to embrace the path of peace and meaningful dialogue. For decades, the people of both nations have yearned for stability, prosperity, and a future free from the shadow of conflict or war. It is a future where families thrive, economies flourish, and the youth inherit a world defined by opportunity rather than discord. True progress cannot emerge from the ashes of war, but from the bridges of understanding. Both nations must prioritize dialogue over division, cooperation over confrontation, and mutual respect over rivalry. The challenges faced are vast, from economic growth to climate change, but they are not insurmountable if approached together. By choosing the path of peace, India and Pakistan can unlock the immense potential of their people, strengthen regional stability, and set an example for the world. It is time to break the cycle of mistrust and take bold steps towards a brighter, shared future, one where borders do not separate hearts and hopes of billions of people. That is exactly what we are saying from London, where millions of people from Pakistan and Indian background, they live with peace and harmony. And what we have witnessed here is amazing display of amity, of togetherness, and a yearning for peace. And we hope that this prayer or this togetherness for the peace in the subcontinent goes beyond the bounds of the British Isles and goes to India and Pakistan, and especially India, which has a huge population, 1.4 billion, the most populous country in the world, with the fifth largest economy and budding middle class, which can actually do so much for the peace of the world. We hope that the international courts of justice, the global community come forward and find the people responsible for this rash and calculated, risky endeavor, and bring those people responsible to the task, because that is the only way the consequences of your miscalculation that has imperiled the lives and futures of billions of people are brought to justice. With that, I say goodbye from our London studios, and I hope that you liked our deep thinking session of today, and I hope that this enlightenment will go beyond the power borders and will bring India and Pakistan together for peace and democracy. Until my next program, I say goodbye.